What I mean by that is making and building deeper connections, making sure that the relationships matter, understanding that how you show up as a leader has a ripple effect on the people around you. But I think purpose-driven culture, when you ignite that from within somebody and you create that magic, that is a big shift, I think. And when I work with retailers, the ones that we help create that in the room, they see the ripple effect afterward. That connection is so key. If you're not connecting with people and you're just communicating at them, you're not going to have a team that's bought into what you want them to do. It's just not going to happen. Mindset is a skill set along with other things. So I just think that trend is going to continue because AI can't replace emotional context. It just can't.
Hello and welcome to our first episode of the Retail Razor Retail Transformers podcast, the latest podcast in the ever-growing Retail Razor podcast network. I'm Ricardo Belmar.
And I'm Casey Golden. Welcome Retail Razor fans to the show where we cut through the clutter and bring you the people driving real transformation in retail, the change makers, the innovators, and the disruptors reshaping the industry from the inside out.
Yes, this is the podcast where we dive into candid conversations with the people reshaping the world of commerce, from the boardroom to the showroom floor. If you're passionate about innovation, leadership, and the future of commerce, Retail Transformers is the podcast for you.
And if this sounds a bit familiar to our loyal Retail Razor audience, well, there's a reason for that. On the Retail Razor Show podcast, all the way back in season 1, we started a series called Retail Transformers. Each season, we brought you an amazing series of guests that we could all learn from, showing us how they have transformed retail or plan to.
Well, we learned from that experience that, in fact, these were some of the most popular episodes on the show. So we said to ourselves, we should just launch this as a brand new show and keep bringing you even more incredible retail transformers that are, of course, more than meets the eye.
Ricardo, you are so lucky that you are more than an arm's length away. If you think I'm letting you get away with slipping those pop culture references
That's what I do.
Back into the show, like, forget it. This is the one.
I get one, huh? All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to take that as a challenge. You watch. I'll find a way to work them, at least one into each episode one way or another, or maybe I'll switch to making them music references or song lyrics instead.
Okay, I'm okay. Like, bring me some song lyrics.
Okay, all right. It's a challenge. I'm up for the challenge. I am up for the challenge for that one.
But how about we go back to talking about the show?
All right, I would love to. So, in fact, I'd really love to take a moment here and ask everyone listening, or if you're watching us on YouTube, to please go check out the other shows in the Retail Razor Podcast Network. Hopefully you've already subscribed to the main show, the Retail Razor Show. But if not, don't worry, we'll forgive you. Just be sure that when you're done listening to this show, and of course hitting that subscribe button, you also go and subscribe to the Retail Razor Show. You'll be so glad you did.
And don't stop there. Check out Blade to Greatness for the best leadership skills and career tips you could ever ask for in retail, straight from the best leaders in the business, including our guest for today on the show. So you see, we're already cross-pollinating from show to show.
Oh, yeah. And then go give Data Blades a listen, where you'll get deep, practical insights into customer experience tactics you can use based on real-world research at the point of sale. If you're a data junkie, like Casey here, then you absolutely want to check out Data Blades.
100%. So that brings us up to 4 shows, right?
Yeah, it does. Amazing, isn't it? Did you ever think we'd be producing 4 shows when we started Retail Razor Show back in 2021?
No, I definitely didn't. Frankly, if you even told me then that I'd even be part of a regular YouTube series, I would have laughed at you. Or even been the person to initiate that.
That's right. That's right.
Honestly, you could go back to our original show on Clubhouse. Anybody remember Clubhouse? And I wouldn't have expected we'd be expanding that into all of these podcasts in less than 4 years.
I have to agree there. This has been quite the wild ride, but very exciting. I can't express just how much I love hearing the feedback, though, from loyal listeners to the shows and how much they learn and take away from each episode. I'm always so impressed to hear how much of an impact all of these podcasts are having, and I really love to see that happen.
Yeah. And I think this show is really going to make an impact too. I love how this will give so many people the opportunity to give back to the industry and share their knowledge and wisdom. And most of all, I can't wait to see reactions from our audience about some of the more unexpected guests we'll have this season.
That is so true. Of course, we'll also have some, I guess I would say, expected guests too, won't we?
Way to drop a hint there. But yes, we are asking many of our previous retail transformers to come back on the show and update us on all the new and amazing work they've been doing since their first appearance.
Those will be a really special treat.
So in anticipation of that, this might be the best time to ask our audience to please consider giving us a 5-star rating and drop a quick review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or Good Pods if you like the show. We really appreciate your support.
That's right. So, okay, let's talk about our first retail transformer this episode, someone who is no stranger to the whole podcast network. We mentioned before, she was one of our special guests on multiple episodes of Blade to Greatness, sharing 3 incredible leadership traits that every retail leader needs to master. But not only that, she was also our very first retail transformer in season 1 of the Retail Razor Show.
Yeah. So it's only natural that we would invite her to be our first guest on this new dedicated Retail Transformers show. And best of all, she has been very busy with new exceptional work that we're going to be hearing more about today.
That's right. So, of course, we are talking about April Sabral. April is a leadership and mindset expert, best-selling author of multiple books, and founder of the brand new Ask April AI, an AI-powered coaching and training platform designed to support retail, hospitality, and service-based business owners. With over 30 years of experience leading teams at iconic global brands such as, check out the list, Starbucks, Gap, Banana Republic, David's Tea, April has trained thousands of managers to become confident, people-focused leaders.
Her proven leadership system, The Positive Effect, has been embraced by top brands including Jimmy Choo, Tory Burch, Sunglass Hut, Victoria's Secret, and Psycho Bunny. Her best-selling book by the same name was ranked a top global retail book by the National Retail Federation in 2025 and is featured in the Forbes Leadership Library.
And we mentioned April has been very busy since her first appearance on the show. So not only is she launching the new Ask April AI, but she's also has the only coaching certification in the retail industry that certifies leaders and coaches to train and license her proven methods. And that is launching this fall.
We did say she's quite busy, didn't we? April is also the executive director of the Design District Chamber of Commerce in Miami, where she combines her passion for retail with community leadership. She's a fellow Rethink Retail top retail expert and has been named for 3 consecutive years, 2022 to 2025. And she's on a mission to positively impact 1 million leaders worldwide through practical business tools and mindset transformation.
Wow. Talk about more than meets the eye. That is what transformation is all about.
Absolutely. And yes, I did catch that you worked your favorite phrase in again. And
I threw it in there. Okay. So why don't we go straight to our conversation with April then before I get myself into deeper trouble before the next episode.
I like that idea. So here's our fantastic discussion with retail transformer April Sabral, multi-book author, leadership coach, and founder of Ask April AI. Welcome to the first episode of our Retail Transformer Show. April, always an incredible pleasure to have you here with us.
I'm so excited. I can't believe it. I'm here again. I love the show, and I'm really, really happy to be here today.
Well, this is a particularly special one for us too, April, because you may or may not realize that you were our very first retail transformer on the Retail Razor Show way back in our season 1, episode 9, which, if I remember correctly, is all the way back in May of 2022. So
Wow.
just over 3 years ago. And so it's perfectly fitting that you're now helping us launch the new series on this theme with the first episode of the series. So thanks for being here with us.
Oh, wow. I did not know that. That's epic.
Exactly.
It was a different world. And of course, you're no stranger to other shows since you joined us for the first season of our Blade to Greatness series.
That's right.
In fact, that's partly why you're here, isn't it? You have such a rich history of training retail leaders, plus now multiple books making a real impact, starting with The Positive Effect, then Incurable Positivity, and so much more to help leaders understand why being positive is so powerful when leading store teams.
Thank you.
You've seen the retail landscape evolve significantly over your 25 years at companies like Starbucks, Apple, Banana Republic. What are some of the most fundamental shifts in team leadership that you've observed?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's such a good question, this question. What are shifts, right? Versus change. I love the word shift because I think shift is about like slight changes can make a big impact. I'm a big believer in that. And I think one of the biggest shifts I've seen over time, which I think was always there, but more walking away from transactional leadership and going towards transformational leadership. And what I mean by that is making and building deeper connections, making sure that the relationships matter, understanding that how you show up as a leader has a ripple effect on the people around you. And, you know, back in the day when I was growing up in retail, I did fortunately get a lot of personal development and professional development back then from Gap, Apple, and Starbucks back in the day before the e-com boom and all the money was in people. And so then I saw it go away from people. And I think right now it's coming back around. You know, you cannot cut development. Like cutting development is a false economy. That's what I read that term lately. And I was like, that is so good because
I like that.
You're saving money and you're not saving money. You're actually killing your business. It's the decisions we make as leaders. So I think just that, and then really honing those skills in positive mindset. People are so interested now in mindset practices, you know, how to manifest. All of that comes along with leadership when you're leading a business and how to make sure that you are being responsible for that and teaching others. Like back in the day, people didn't talk about positive mindset or teaching other people the skills on their team. They would just say you're being negative, you're being not so nice, or you're not being good at what you do. And I think that's evolved. So skill set and mindset is very important now.
I think that's great. And I like your use of responsibility. I do feel like very strongly that the industry has a responsibility to its people. We need them to get that foundational experience to lead us into the future.
We do. And excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. It always happens when you get on camera, right? You're like, oh, it's fine until.
That's right.
And I also think purpose-driven culture over command and control. Like, you know, before it was like, do this, do that, command and control, like operational execution. I mean, I grew up in the Gap world of execution, which is amazing because it taught me a lot. But I think purpose-driven culture, when you ignite that from within somebody and you create that magic, that is a big shift, I think. And when I work with retailers, the ones that we help create that in the room, they see the ripple effect afterwards. I had somebody call me the other day and they said, with sales went up like a couple of weeks after, we don't know if it was your training because it's really hard to quantify training and development. I think that's why companies can get faster because it's not like a direct ROI, but it kind of is.
Yeah.
They were like, we get the training, you know, people are letting go of people.
If sales went down, I have a sneaky suspicion that it would be very easy to make the attribution.
I know. But, you know, when I'm trying to talk to people about that, one of the things we talk about the shift is instead of saying ROI as well on things, we say ROC, which is return on compensation. So you're paying people all of this money. And are you getting the return on compensation that you want versus the ROI, return on investment on training? Because when people are trained and skilled up and more positive, they do perform better. So we like to
Right.
talk about that and educate, our partners on that.
Do you have an example recently or like working with a brand that you can share?
Yeah, for sure. So like most recently, you would have seen it posted on LinkedIn probably, is we went to Tory Burch and we trained their store manager field leadership team in their management conference. And that was really powerful. That was focused on mindset. A lot of it in that training was from the positive effect, but it was from incurable positivity because they really wanted their team to have best practices on how to lead positively and shift other people's mindsets and take on accountability and not have that blame game, right? Like, oh, the company's asking me to do this. They're not giving me the resources for this, complaining about everything that's going wrong. That's not great for any business. So we really worked on the change management matrix and like that mindset and giving them the tools. And the other thing that I've learned in the last 5 years of doing this is standing there lecturing at somebody does not work. So we have owned the facilitation game of getting 200 people in a room to actually engage with about 50 people throughout the whole 4 hours of workshop with different people. And what that does is build collaboration. There's somebody, in LA that's never met the person in New York and probably may not conference that big. But we have these activities that get them to actually have self-reflection. And so that's really powerful. And I could see the shift, the ripple, like after we left the room and beyond. So that was a really good example of like these frameworks, their focus, what they wanted us to work on versus, performance management skills and I don't know, how to give somebody feedback. It was really about positivity.
It's really a great point. Store managers, a lot of times they kind of live on an island, which is them and HQ. I remember God, it was like a lifetime ago, but I would have a bi-weekly call-in that all store managers would essentially call in during the afternoon for some type of topic or conversation. It was almost like a lunch and learn, but it did bring at least like all store managers in, and we did have an opportunity for open discussion. I've never even thought about that as something that I did actually find a lot of value in because I didn't feel like I was alone. I felt like I was part of this larger team.
Yeah, which is that purpose-driven culture. When you can create that alignment among many people and give them that vision and create that power from within, you will ignite your team's performance. There is nothing better than that if you're thinking about productivity and how to drive more sales. Like legit, like you have people, you have to invest in them. And that's why I love that term of cutting development is a false economy,
Yeah. So teamwork, I guess, is pretty central to all the coaching skills and things that you do in these sessions. Are there one or two really actionable techniques that you could tell leaders right now is they should immediately implement to really build that better teamwork environment?
Yeah, I think so. I was just working in New York, right, last week when I was there for the LEAD conference. And the day prior, I was with one of my independent clients. And I was standing there and it sounds really basic. This is going to sound so basic, but it's not, because it's the small things, the fundamental things of building connection with people that really matter. And I was watching a daily huddle, and it was so great to be back on the shop floor because I haven't done it for a while. And just speaking at your team, like delivering a download of information in the morning of what's got to get done. And then you say, oh, does anybody have any to say? And everybody walks away and you're like, oh, that went well. Well, actually, it didn't. Nobody had anything to say.
Yeah.
So one thing I asked him to do was, instead of just downloading information and telling them what's going on for the day, is to start their team meeting with asking them, and this is a Ron Thurston thing, right? What's one thing you're proud of, right? Asking that question, or what's one thing you're grateful for today, and get everybody to share. Yeah. What that does is it gets everybody in a positive emotional attractor, and it opens up their brainwaves. And it's scientifically proven that you get people talking and now they're open and they're in a place of gratitude. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is, bring what you're trying to get people to get into conversations in everyday meetings by saying, okay, we're going to talk about, our vision statement or our latest or one of the service models or something that you feel like, oh my God, why aren't my team getting this? I never see them doing it. Bring it into a meeting and say, okay, so who wants to talk about, step one of the vision statement and like, how are we going to do it today? How are we going to embody this today? That's bringing personal development into professional development. And I don't see that enough. When we're in the conferences, we teach a framework, then I share a story about it. And then the next step is we get them into groups, like small groups, and they have to start with what are they grateful for? And then what did they just learn from me? And then how are they going to apply it? These are the 3 steps. And that's an easy formula to shift culture, right?
Yeah. I mean, it has to be intentional. Being positive is intentional. If you ask anybody who has a positive outlook on life, they choose it and they make that intentional decision.
And one thing too, I noticed from those 3 steps, I think is so important. It gets everyone communicating with each other, and of course, your team isn't going to function if they're not communicating with each other in the first place. So I do think it's a critical piece that you're really reinforcing in that method by getting everyone talking to each other.
Well, yeah, leaders think they have to say everything, and then they think they have to fill the silence, and they actually don't.
Right.
I used to be on conference calls. I'd ask a question, 30 people, and I'd say, I'm really good with silence, so I'm going to just ask it again until someone
someone said something.
It's kind of like last week when we were at the lead, right? Like Julia and Paul, they said, okay, who wants to stand up and offer up something? And I was like, they picked me. Of course they did, because then I started the conversation. So one person starts and then everybody starts. So connection is so key. If you're not connecting with people and you're just communicating at them, you're not going to have a team that's bought into what you want them to do. It's just not going to happen. So you really have to ask questions, and what questions? Like, really think about that. I get asked all the the time, like, what questions should I be asking? I'm like, ask ChatGPT. You've got a personal now,
Right.
Yeah. Accountability is crucial. How do you define positive accountability, and how does it differ from more traditional approaches to holding teams responsible? Let's say somebody in our audience right now is going to go ask ChatGPT, but really about that, where is that North Star for them on positive accountability?
I think positive anything, and specifically positive accountability, means that everybody knows what it is. Because when you feel uncertain about things, you feel uneasy about things. We all do. We're going into a situation and we're not sure about what it's going to be like or how it's going to play out, and we can feel uneasy. The more that we provide clarity, which is clear expectations, the better people are going to feel, which is going to activate not less fight or flight in their brain and actually put them in a positive space. So I always say, when I'm in a training or I'm talking to leaders about accountability, and it's specifically positive accountability, ask 10 people on your team what accountability means and see what they say. And they give you 10 different answers. So then I'm like, well, that's interesting, because if we know certainty and clear expectations creates positive work experiences and places, then wouldn't you want to have a definition of accountability that everybody's clear on? So whenever anybody asks me, I say accountability is a 9-step framework that when you actually adopt it, gets everybody clear and working in tandem to achieve the goals. It is a 9-step framework. And that's what I say. And then if you know that and you know the steps, then you've got a positive framework for accountability. Number 1 being setting clear expectations. That's the one that everybody misses. So if we know setting clear expectations is the first step of accountability, then we need to set a clear expectation of what accountability is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. And I think that's a great place for people to start. We're seeing a lot of anxiety around AI in the workplace. Something like 89% reportedly are worried about job displacement. I'm not a self-checkout kind of gal, but unlike Ricardo, how can leaders throwing you under the bus there?
Yeah.
How can leaders in these industries adopt AI with the positive mindset and help their teams to do the same and, really release that anxiety?
I think we have to normalize the conversation around it, just like we do a product launch, just like we do a promotional launch, just like we do when we're building a new division, whatever it is, we need to bring it into conversation. It can't be an afterthought. You know, you are correct about that percentage, because I was doing a talk in Miami recently and studying the percentage and then how many Google searches there are every 30 seconds about improving my AI skills. It was like 730 million. It was ridiculous. Probably more than that, billion. I can't read the numbers. The zero. Right. But then when you add work on top at work, it actually nearly doubles. So this is a real fear that's in people's minds. So if you're not dealing with change, we know change is, again, uncertainty. People are going to get resistant to it. So I think you have to bring it in. And number one, share your vision about how you see AI in your company improving their role, maybe reducing some workload from some people. Because again, if you're not normalizing that conversation about it, you're avoiding it. And I don't think that's good for anybody. The number one step in our change matrix is vision. If you don't share a vision, people are confused. If you don't talk about how AI is going to be working in your company, because you are going to bring it in, it's not going away, then you're not sharing a vision, people are going to be confused, right? And if you're not tooling them up with the skills, they're going to feel frustrated. So you have to really talk about and bring it in. And we've done that in our organization, because we're a content company, we're a training company, but we build a lot of content, right? Video training and all of that. And we call it Meloria. It's really funny. It means positivity in Latin. So we've given her a name, which, so we talk about, hey, did you, like literally I get text messages from Rena on my team and she's like, did you talk to Meloria about that? And I'm like, oh yeah, right. Let's talk to Meloria about it. And last night I was on the plane landing and I was having this thought. And I was like, Meloria is like there now. She's our ally. She's our team player. And then I was like, oh, I should go ask April, actually. Why don't I just ask my own AI version? So then I've started and she built me a whole freaking go-to-market strategy on something that we're launching soon. And I was like, that was brilliant. It would have taken me like 5 advisors, 3 weeks, reaching out on LinkedIn to find people. So I think you've got to reframe it as an assistant and not a replacement. It will replace some jobs, let's be real. It will. And we need to be talking about that so that we can upskill people that may be displaced into other roles.
Yeah, I mean, retail is just notorious for obscene amounts of admin work that probably shouldn't exist today for the last 15 years. So, I mean, I think with that comes new productivity and putting people in magic spots, right? Letting them focus on the magic areas versus seeing some out of spreadsheets and paperwork that's out there. And I think you can't just talk about it. I think you have to demo it, right? Like you have to demonstrate using it. Like I've been in offsites recently with executives where they have been spending way too long trying to figure out their OKRs and their strategy. And then I just open up the laptop and I'm like, okay, well, let's all talk to her and like, let's have a conversation. And then it goes like this by the end of the meeting. They're like, whoa, we got our OKRs in 20 minutes. I'm like, you know, 100%. You know, that's a great point. I challenge all of our listeners right now to upgrade to a paid version. I think that right there is, don't just try it on the free level. It's like a 30x.
But it's the difference between looking at it and thinking about it versus embracing and actually leveraging and taking advantage of the results you get from it.
Yeah. And it's very different.
No, absolutely. I mean, and I think and you said it, April, it's one of those things where you can't, I think there's a habit or a tendency often in retail that when there are these unknown things or unclear things, to just ignore them and maybe they'll go away. But the fact is they don't go away, right? They just build and build. And the AI tools is one of those where if leaders don't embrace it and actually in a structured way kind of figure out how are we going to incorporate this into everything we do, everyone else under them is going to do it for them. But it's not going to be coordinated. It'll be everyone will find their own way to do it. And it's going to be very disjointed, and you're not going to get all the benefits that you could get. So it's definitely an integration problem from that sense. I mean, is there a particular piece of advice you give leaders who are grappling with this whole how do I incorporate AI in this way that you're telling everyone this is where you should start?
Yeah, talk to AI and tell it that you're grappling with it, how to integrate it and get it to give you a plan. Like, you have to start just talking to it and upskilling yourself. There is tons of free courses now. There is tons of webinars. We're a training company. We 100% believe that when you are trained and you have the knowledge, you will be able to embrace and accept it faster because knowledge gives you confidence. So I think fear is a real thing around this. Your team is feeling fearful. You have no option but to up-level your skills as their leader and get educated on this. So, I think just training and upskilling. So if you're looking at your next 30 days and you don't have an AI workshop or some kind of masterclass that you can do on LinkedIn Learning or whatever, there's tons of stuff out there. Just Google it. I literally feel like I want to do an AI masterclass on LinkedIn because honestly, last week people just kept coming up to me and I felt like I was a prompt architect, legit. I was like, I'm going to a new job about to appear, a prompt architect, because humans don't generally ask a lot of questions. They think more about themselves than anybody else. We just do. It's human nature. So we don't know how to engage with somebody that's not giving us something back. Well, when you start engaging with it, it starts to help you be better at your job. That's when you start getting the buy-in because you're like, wow, that's making me better, sound better, easier. Wow, I could progress if I've got this skill now. So yeah, it's just last week. I was walking, people were just walking up to me and saying, somebody asked this question. I was like, wow. I was like,
that is great. Yeah, I just mentioned last week that AI and ChatGPT and a Claude or Gemini is a micromanager's dream. It is a skill. It is a skill that needs to be refined, especially since typically leaders, great leaders, they overly communicate, but they do build those dreams and expectations. But in my opinion, a great leader gives you enough rope to hang yourself with it. And that you can't do that to ChatGPT. You have to micromanage that prompt to be so specific to what you need it to do, what role you need to take it to take on, and really define the outcome. And I say it's like working with an intern. It is all day. I'm literally working with an intern all day because I have to explain everything. And it is a skill that has to be developed, right? Because that's not a great skill of mine. I hate being micromanaged, but at the same time, that is the success in AI, is being able to hone in that skill to say, listen, I may not enjoy doing it, but it's mandatory skill that I work on this and continue to develop this because I'm going to be able to get what I want, but I'm also going to be able to learn what else I can have that I didn't realize.
Yeah, and I'm going to reframe the micromanaging piece to, you're not micromanaging an intern, you're training an intern, right? You're training somebody. And when you're training somebody, you can, guess what? Redirect, reframe, ask them a question if they didn't get it, coach them if they didn't get what you said, ask them to ask you more clarifying questions so that you can be clear in what you're asking.
Right.
So I think if you reframe it for you're training your assistant, then it becomes fun because literally it's like you say one thing, like you said, and then it gives you an answer and you're like, oh no, now you get stuck. No, if that was a human standing in front of you, you'd be like, okay, I must have not been clear. Let me give you some more information. Or if you want to ask me questions to clarify what I'm actually need, then can you ask me some questions? But that's the skill that we teach leaders that they don't have. They walk around making judgments all day.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people have an inherent, not so much a fear, but maybe a lack of ability to iterate on things. And this is such an iterative process, right? And that's what you learn. And I think I like how you say that you're training it in that sense, because you really are, right? You're starting with a problem you want to solve. And like any problem solving technique, the AI is great at helping you do that, but it also needs a little bit of help from you in understanding what exactly is the problem you're trying to solve. And the only way you do that is by giving it more information, asking more questions, and keep repeating and iterating over until it finally comes out with what you were looking for. But I think maybe some of the disservice a lot of the early hype did is create this notion that you're going to ask one thing and get all the answers you want. And
Exactly.
and that's not really how it works, right? And if you think about it, when do we ever solve problems that way in these businesses? Or when did we ever solve one by just saying one thing and getting an answer and okay, we're done. Let's move on to the next one. Yeah. Everything we do, right, always has iteration to it. And we always have to dig and go a little deeper and expand, most of the time because we haven't defined the problem well enough to get to that solution. And you do a lot of these steps to better define it. And it's no different with doing the prompting with AI, because the AI needs a good understanding of what you're trying to do so that it can give you a result that is going to satisfy you.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note that, like, in order to have like successful training, there needs to be some level of a culture of learning.
Right.
Because just because you train me today doesn't mean anybody's had a moment to sit with it, to test it. I started putting my Monday mornings and afternoon essentially into learning. I'm going to try new tools. I'm going to watch some YouTube videos, and it's very structured of what do I want to learn? What tools can I use? Let me try to create an agent. Let me kind of like double click in this area so that I can like I can feel like I'm not doing my job, but I feel like I'm going to be able to 10x if I can make sure that I have time to absorb all of this stuff that's coming in, that's new, or everything that I wanted to essentially like, is being reiterated into practice, and allowing that space for your team members to just sit with it, try, learn, where you are holding them accountable to engage and act, but really don't have that result, right? Especially in retail. Yeah. There's always a fire drill every day, inboxes, traffic, sales quotas, and we also often don't provide that space to absorb and to learn and test.
Well, if you go back to the beginning of the first question you asked me about like what shifted in leadership, it's like past life, it was like I would ask, what did you sell today? Today, I would say, how can I support you grow today? And that's a different question. Not that I'm not going to ask, what did you sell? Because we've all got to make sales. But if you just focus on that and the past review, you're not creating a supportive growth environment. If you say to somebody, how can I support you grow today? That's a really powerful question. And that opens up dialogue for strengthening the skill set for the future, always in improvement mode versus just looking back all the time.
Yeah, that's so true. It's so true. So April, since we're diving into the AI question and how to best use it, it's probably a good time to ask you for more details on the Ask April AI that you're about to launch.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how, as a platform that's going to make leadership development more relevant, maybe more personalized, and how it helps leaders address all the challenges they're facing, whether it's in retail, hospitality, other service businesses?
Yeah. We're really excited because when we built Retail U 6 years ago, we built micro learning 4-minute videos when everybody was still doing 12 to 15-minute videos. So we kind of innovated then. And how I feel like it's shifting now is attention is currency, right? We all know that shorts is the way to go if you want to get people's attention. So we've been able to take the courses, which are the longer, they're 4-minute videos. They're not really long, but they are kind of long now, like to get somebody to watch it, and use an AI version of me and kind of like consolidate all of that and give you a mini podcast style AI version of me having a conversation with somebody else, which is awesome. And it goes through all the frameworks in a very podcast style learning, because everybody listens to podcasts. We're on one right now, right? They blew up after the pandemic. They were always there, but now they're really, really prevalent on how people learn. And so that's been really awesome to kind of use AI version of me and somebody else to have this conversation about the frameworks and bring it into real life and have discussions and debates about it. And I listen to them. I'm like, whoa, that was really good. Like that was awesome. So that's one piece of it, is like innovating the learning styles and distilling it down to more micro-sized on demand, but giving you the frameworks that work, number one. Also, giving you contextualized prompts. So we talked about like people don't know what questions to ask. I
Right.
all the time. So I know all the questions that people ask because they ask me all the time in trainings. We've trained thousands of leaders at this point. So we have the most commonly asked questions and challenges. And so we give you those contextual prompts so that they're there and you can have a conversation with me, the AI version of me, to get the answers that you need. And it will reference all the books. It will reference a course. It will reference a podcast. It will point you in the direction. Because at this point, we have so much content that we've built that we have this massive library. So it will point you in the direction so that you can get that deeper learning. So that's really exciting. And then what I've really recognized over the last 5 years is the smaller businesses that really couldn't afford to have me come in and do a workshop or didn't have the headcount to do it need a different way to get access to our content. And so we've built a program specifically for them. And coming down the line, they will be able to kind of build their own content and AI-driven course creation on the platform because their stuff is in Google Drive, it's on Canva, it's everywhere. It's like when we go to do an business, the onboarding and the expectations, we can't train that in the small businesses because they haven't set them. So we have to help them set them. So we're going to help them with that and then, have an AI tool that creates and generates SOPs and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited about where this is going to go. It's going to be a very affordable subscription because we want to make it affordable. But we also are now, which I think makes this very different, training and certifying coaches. So you come into the AI platform to get your micro-learning, all the courses from Retail U, Hospitality U, the Positive Effects Salon U, all in one banner now because they were all in different banners. So they're all in one hub. And now you can actually get a coach on demand to train your managers for you using the content so you don't have to. And that's just been a massive learning in the last 4 years of working with owners, and they can't really train the managers because they don't have the skills. So we'll do it for you so that you can get back to running your business and doing the magic, stay in the magic lane that you are in. You have to go through the program because it starts at the top. I truly believe that. But we are going to give you additional support. So Ask April AI is a learning hub for location-based bricks and mortar with these features in it. And I'm really excited. I think it's gonna be it's good timing, I think.
Yeah.
That's great.
No, that's great.
Be great, like trainer, like even like fitness, personal trainer. You can't just go to the personal trainer once and call it good for the quarter.
Yeah.
It is about
It's an ongoing.
And it's ongoing, and it's a conscious decision that you're making on a regular basis to, trust the process to get you to where you want. We will. So we trained it on all of the books and all the content. So I'm training her all the time. Like just yesterday, we were going to an event in New York, and a friend of mine, he's a tech founder, and he was like, I don't know how my elevator pitch. What am I going to say? Because, okay, so you like show up, you're like, what do you say you do when you do 50 million things, right? So I was like, why don't you just chat GPT it, like ask. And then I was like, hold on, let's ask April AI. Let's ask chat GPT and let's ask April AI. And the difference was really, really powerful. And because I say that because you sometimes, why would somebody sign up for Ask April AI when I've got chat GPT? Ask April AI actually gave him the positive reframe on his mindset that he needed going into the event versus just the salesy elevator pitch. They actually asked you to reframe, take a deep breath, meditate, like all the incurable positivity practices, as well as a pitch. And I was like, whoa, that was really good.
Yeah, it's great because it sounds like you really get, I think, when it comes to anything related to training, you go through a training and you remember some portion of it.
Yeah.
Right. But as time passes, if you're not continuously using what you learn from that training, you start to forget bits and pieces of it. And the amount that you retain gets smaller and smaller. But if you have something like Ask April AI, you're going to keep asking it, or tell me again how I do this, or what's the best way I can do this? And you ask all the questions. It's like constantly being refreshed in the training, which just seems like an amazing tool for any leader to have that way.
Yeah. And the frameworks we use are so simple. Right? They're like a 3-step acronym. Use this when you have this conversation. That's why they're so powerful, because they're very applied learning, because they're grounded in retail ops, right? We don't have to have long, fluffy conversations. We had to get people inspired, get them moving, and then give them, have a three.
Yeah.
That, I was raised in Gap and Starbucks. Acronyms were the life. We had acronyms for everything. And so I think that's powerful. The acronyms and the frameworks that it pulls up now because we've trained it on them all is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Is this, do you see something like Ask April AI helping retailers, put the labor back in their stores in a sense? We all still talk about how there is still an issue with having enough labor in stores, right? And having a large enough store team. Do you see AI tools like Ask April AI helping leaders kind of compensate for that? And either because they're better developing the team members they have, and they're enabling to do more of the, I'm going to say the more high value tasks rather than a lot of tedious things that, can consume all your time, but you don't get a lot to show for it afterwards.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like just creating strategy documents and monthly plans and to-do lists and all of that stuff. If you could just say it to somebody and ask them to do it for you, like your little intern, it just saved you a whole lot of time. I just created a task list yesterday for my team. I was like, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I want to focus on. Can you create a task list? And then which one out of my team, what should I be doing? What should they be doing? It just gave me a priority list. That was like 2 minutes. Before, we'd be having a discussion. Somebody would be disagreeing with me. I'd be afraid to tell them what I want to say. There'd be all this other complexity going on to make things longer. So it will save it. And I think it's not about cutting hours from the stores. It's about cutting hours from the support functions or reframing what they're doing so that the labor can go into the stores. Like if I was in a retailer right now, I'd be looking at where we can save in labor hours total company to fuel the store experience, not to cut from it. That the experience of the human connection is so essential. We know that from experience. You can't get rid of that. They're never going to replace humans in that perspective. They will replace
absolutely.
And things like that, but not from an experiential place. So yeah, I do think that it's going to help. If you're smart and you're embracing it and you're learning it and you're looking at ways to integrate it into these tasks, there should be like an AI task force kind of cross-functional that's kind of looking at how you can implement things and save cost as a total group. And then where does that money go to fuel growth, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've built some tech. Let's talk about building technology, April. At some point, I will have a tell-all book. I have a title. I just need to make sure that the results support the title. So I'm not ready yet. Like many female founders, what's the reality been for you and your project? Building tech, what's been tough? What have you learned? What did you not expect? Any big surprises?
Yeah. I think you should write the book on this. So you were like one of the first people I called a couple of weeks ago. I was like, oh my God, I can chuck somebody. It was all, you can question it all. I think one of the toughest things is if you're not having a tech background and then you're going to build a technology is you don't know what to ask. It's kind of like you're not a mechanic. This is the only way I can describe it. And you have this car and you take it in to get an oil change because you have this commitment to make sure that it's, taken care of. And when it's there, the mechanic says, oh yeah, and X, Y, and Z has to be done. And you're looking at your car up there and you're like, well, I have to get it back. And I don't know if he's telling me the truth, but I have to give him the money because he's now got my car hostage. So, okay, here's more money and fix X, Y, and Z, even though I only came in for an oil change. And I feel like that's the experience of building a tech platform. It's like,
so with that analogy,
you go into it like, oh, I'm just going to do this oil change. I've got my plan. I've got my goals. I've got my strategy. And all of a sudden, as you're in it, you're like, whoa, hold on a second. This needs to be done. That needs to be done. And it costs more money. And you don't really know what to do because now you're in it and you are focused on getting to the finish line and you want this product to come out because you know how much it's going to help people. So I feel like that has been a massive learn. Going backwards, I think I would have taken some classes or called somebody or prepared myself for that as opposed to just going cold turkey. But a lot of people just go into it with an idea that they want to build, find a developer. And you don't know if that developer's a good mechanic, a skilled mechanic, got an attitude mechanic. You don't know. Right? There's all these components. And I'm really good at managing and leading people. I got to say, this really challenged my leadership skills in another way. Like it did not work what was working managing my team in the other areas of the business because I don't have that skill set. So again, not knowing what to follow up on, not knowing the questions to ask. And so you were really helpful because I was like, oh my God, what questions should I be asking? So yeah, I had to hire the developer and then bring somebody else in to do an assessment and then kind of get it back on track. And so that was just so emotional. That was just stressful, emotional. Like I've been challenged in more ways this year than any. Being a tech founder, being an entrepreneur was hard. Being a tech founder, like it will build your resilience like no other. So I think that's a big lesson. I think one of the hardest things as well is just funding as well. It's, these things cost money and you go into it with all good intention wanting to do it. But there does come a point where you're like, how do we get funded in an easier way that's not so complex to bring our things to market? So I think, yeah, those two have been the massive, big challenges. Interesting.
Yeah, I think, it took me I think every tech founder, definitely on like the female founder side, because I think there is, you have a lot of business operators and subject matter experts that have gone into tech to solve specific problems where they have the operating experience and the vision and the relationships in the industry, but they do lack that hands-on technical experience of building a product. And it's not, there's a ton of people moving from retail to go be a software developer at Meta, right? Like that's a career path. They're not even the same schools that we would attend for a career in retail, for a career in computer science, right? I think every female founder's through at least one version of their software way.
I can relate to that.
Whether or not it was hostage or the code was noodle or just really wasn't able to, every engineer wants to rebuild anyway. It's when they get their hands on a platform.
That's so true. It's like, hold on a second. Why can't you just help me get this one to the next step? So one thing I have learned, and thankfully with AI, is how to code. This is a big surprise for me. Never thought I would learn that and love it, but it's problem solving, right? So I'm a problem solver, so I love that mind game doing it. And so I've learned to code, and I've impressed myself in the last week. I was like, whoa, I didn't know I could do that. But we have AI.
Yeah.
It's so much easier. I wish I would have, I have 25 years of French. I wish I had 25 years of JavaScript. I would be so much more successful. And there's no rolling the R, right? It makes so much more logical sense to learn the language to code, especially if you're an Excel junkie, like most people in retail are.
Yeah.
We are the royalty of if and then statements. But yes, I think I probably spent a solid 2 years just learning how to communicate and manage engineers and be able to set out with a project in a sprint to get the results that I wanted with the same team by my side at the end as well. It is definitely a skill set. So congratulations. You're making it to the other side.
I am, because I have so much resilience. I remember once one of my bosses back in the day, he said, "You're like a pit bull dressed up like a fairy." I'm like, yeah, I don't fuck me, but when I want to get something done, it's gonna get done. And that's the opera. Let's get it done. So, but yeah, I'm excited, and yeah, I actually do love the whole nerdy side of the coding. I mean, I was building courses and online sites and funnels and all of that. I've done that for 6 years now, and so this whole coding side, I was like, ooh, that's what that does. Oh, and then I'm like, oh, how can I add this and how can I add that? So that's been really cool. And I think I'm so grateful now to be in the era of building technology in AI. Honestly, it just makes it so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. Looking ahead, what is one key trend in leadership development that you believe will be essential for the success in retail, hospitality, beauty industries over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, one trend in leadership development. Okay, that's a great question. I think mindset training is going to continue to be part of it. I've been saying this for a long time, but I was raised by an American hippie mother in the UK that got me into personal development early in my 20s, right? Manifesting, laws of the universe, all of this kooky stuff. However, as a metaphysical student and practitioner of understanding how the brain works, what you think about comes about, and rewiring your neurons and all of that stuff. That cannot be ignored now in leadership, I think, because you can go into a room and learn how to connect. But if you don't have the skills to learn to teach people how to deal with their negativity and their negative mindset and their anxiety, it's going to be tough to drive those results, especially when AI is taking away all of the mundane jobs and the taskmaster jobs. So you're going to have to really become versed and skilled in how to deal with humans. You can't hide behind the tasks anymore, which means you're going to have those skills on how to reframe people's mindsets through this massive change that we're going through. That was really surprising to me when we went to Tory Burch and we did a 4-hour session. They were like, just focus on, positivity, mindset, self-accountability, teaching our leaders how to help their teams do that. When people are complaining, help them to reframe it, not just tell them to stop complaining, because that doesn't work, because what you resist persists. So it's not about resisting negativity. It's about learning how to shift it and showing people it is a skill set. Mindset is a skill set along with other things. So I just think that trend is going to continue because AI can't replace emotional context. It just can't.
Yeah.
No, I hear a lot of people, especially over the last 5 years, retail's gone through a lot. The world's gone through a lot. And there's been a large emphasis on wartime CEOs, right? I think that almost every single manager right now needs to be able to have that point of reflection to say, how am I going to inspire and lead my team through all of this uncertainty? And I think this is a moment where leadership, where you work, is more important than even what your hours are, how much you're getting paid, what the perks are. It's like we're at a time with rapid change and so much uncertainty in the media, in retail, what is going on with retail and technology and with this AI, that it really comes down to who people want to be in the ship with.
Yeah.
That's
why
I feel comfortable that I'm going to bet on this. I have somebody who inspires me. I believe in, they're not going to leave me behind. I'm safe as long as I engage and I participate and they're here for me, and having that safety in your leadership if you can't find it in the industry.
Yeah. Emotional resilience, adaptive mindset, and learning agility. These are the 3 competencies that I truly believe are going to continue to become very, very important.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. It's going to be so critical to be there. I think, like you said earlier, when things shift versus change, sometimes it's easy to miss the shift if you don't have someone leading who's actually embracing the shift and incorporate it into all the things that you do and bringing everyone with them. And if you're not doing that, then of course people will feel like they're being left behind, and then that reduces the positivity, right? I think so many of the things that you talk about, April, if you don't have that positive mindset, then people aren't going to do the things that they need to be doing. They're not going to do the things that make them feel confident about it, make them feel fulfilled with it, and enjoy what they're doing. And we all know that when those things don't happen, you don't produce anything.
Yeah, you're either causing resistance to yourself or lowering resistance as a leader.
Right. Yeah.
That's it, really, because leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. That's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's an easy, high-level synopsis of what is it. So you're causing resistance or you're lowering resistance.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
At the end of the day, right? To move people.
That's the right way to put it.
Yeah.
So you have a new book coming out this fall. We've touched on it a couple of times or hinted at it, Positive Accountability. Is there any kind of a sneak peek into some of the core principles in this book that you can talk about?
Yeah, it takes the 9-step framework that we've been teaching and it breaks it down into more robust chapters. And I think one of them is the step that I love training this step. And actually, when I was at the lead, there was a tech team there from Canada that I trained 4 years ago. And one of the leaders was there at the show. And he said, we had 2 other trainers that came in after. He said, but yesterday I just used that step for the accountability framework. And he was like, and it works every time. It's one thing I remember from you. And I'm like, hey, one thing that's just golden. But it's the step that says share mutual consequences in advance. And that step is such a powerful step, because if you set your clear expectations and you have them repeat back to you, and then you share mutual consequences in advance, so that if they don't meet the expectations, they've actually agreed on what happens next. There's no awkwardness or gotcha kind of conversations trying to trick you into like catching you do the wrong thing, because you already knew what was coming when you agreed that you understood the expectations. And that simply sounds like, if you don't get this done, you won't be able to do X, Y, and Z. Can we agree on that? Mm-hmm. And in a store environment, that's if you don't make the sales goals, which we are asking you to do, I will not be able to give you the hours. Are you clear on that in advance, so that when your hours may get cut, you understand why that's happening? Mm-hmm. That one step, that 30-second conversation, changes everything. Mm-hmm. When that is missing and you just say, here's the goal, and then they don't make it, and then you go and tell them, I'm cutting your hours, you've caused resistance again in the person.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, well, why are you doing that?
Where did this come from? Yeah.
You didn't tell them in advance. So consequences, whenever I use that word, it makes people get itchy, because they're like, well, that's not a positive word. I'm like, it's actually really positive. It happened to me twice in my career where somebody sat me down and said, hey, the expectation is this, and if you don't meet it, you won't be able to get this. And it changed my life. I got promoted because I was aware of something I was doing was going to hold me back. And it was my decision to learn to do it better, to shift what I was doing, to get more knowledge, to seek out people that could help me, or just to make a decision to do something differently. But had they not sat me down and told me that, I would have never progressed, because I would have never known why. And this is one of the most powerful steps. People get fired because they don't know what the consequences were in advance if they didn't meet this expectation.
Yeah.
So that's the step that I think is just so powerful. And we really go into that with examples and break that down. There is 9 steps. This is just one of them. There is 9.
Right.
But it resonates every time, because I run into people and they're like, oh, that really changed the way that I work with my team. We're having honest conversations. You know, they know in advance. So when it doesn't happen, I'm like, well, you kind of agreed to it. You told me that you understood. So now you're having a follow-up on the expectations not being met in a different way, in a positive way that's transparent. So I'm really excited for leaders to learn that, because that can make a huge ripple effect in a team and in an organization when everybody starts to adopt that.
Well, you've got a new book coming out. So I think now is the time in the wake of that for everybody to go snag a copy of Positive Effect, drill into that 9-step positivity wheel, and download it free at aprilsabral.com. We'll add a link to our comments and our Substack.
Yeah, I mean, April, this has been a fantastic discussion. We can't thank you enough for joining us today, sharing your incredible positivity, your rich retail history, and all the leadership skills and trainings that we've talked about today. I mean, I know I can't wait for the new book later this year, and I just can't thank you enough for helping us launch this new series.
Well, thank you. I feel like whenever you launch one now, I need to be part of the launch plan, because
That's right.
Awesome. Well, congrats on your new series, and I can't wait to listen to more.
Well, congratulations to you. You've been doing a lot of work, and I'm excited to see the launch of your new book and Ask April AI. So thank you so much, April. After this conversation, I think all of our audience is feeling a little bit more inspired to lead and learn. So thank you for joining us and sharing your positive outlook on retail.
Thank you.
Well, Ricardo, I'd say that means our first episode of Retail Transformers is a wrap.
It is.
All right. Awesome.
If you enjoyed our show, we have a simple ask for you. Please consider giving us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Good Pods. Remember to smash that subscribe button in your favorite podcast player if you haven't already, and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode. I'm Casey Golden.
Please follow us and share your feedback at Retail Razor on LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Threads, and Instagram. And if you want to preview highlights and transcripts from each episode right in your email inbox, please subscribe to our Substack newsletter. I'm Ricardo Belmar.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, keep transforming retail and stay sharp. This is the Retail Razor Retail Transformers.